California Republican Tom McClintock joins us now in the 118th Congress. He's chairing the Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration Integrity, Security, and Enforcement. So, Congressman, in these next 2 years, as you lead this panel, how do you achieve those three things: immigration integrity, security, and enforcement?
Well, very simply put, we restore the policies of the Trump administration that had secured our borders for the first time in a generation. The border wall was nearing completion. We were enforcing court-ordered deportations. The Remain in Mexico policy was phenomenally successful. On Inauguration Day, Joe Biden repealed all of those policies. And since then, we've seen 2.9 million illegal immigrants enter our country and stay here. It's 1.7 million that were deliberately admitted by this administration, and another 1.2 million gotaways who evaded the Border Patrol as they were completely overwhelmed, changing diapers and taking names. So that's a total of 2.9 million. That's the entire population of the state of Mississippi just since this administration took office. Virtually all of them impoverished, dependent. And you tell me how we improve our schools by packing our classrooms with non-English speaking students, how we improve our hospital access by flooding emergency rooms with illegals demanding care, how we make our communities more secure by making it virtually impossible to deport criminal illegal aliens, and inviting cartels into our neighborhoods and the gangs that support them. How do we help working Americans by flooding the labor market with cheap illegal labor? And how do we strengthen our social safety net for Americans by adding 2.9 million impoverished people who have no legal right to be here?
So what is the role of the Judiciary Committee in this process when you control one chamber of Congress and Democrats control the Senate and the White House?
I think we have to do two things. We have to first sound the alarm. Second, remind people that the policies that we had in place did work. And third, then make adjustments in our immigration policies so that this doesn't happen again. And that starts with providing for a Title 42-like authority for immigration, not for public health, but specifically for immigration. That's the Chip Roy bill that we plan to bring up in the next several weeks.
Remind folks what Title 42 does.
Title 42 is a public health measure that says that in a public health emergency, the president can order illegal immigrants turned away at the border. And that is the vast majority of the expulsions that we've seen is under Title 42. Now, that was invoked for COVID. It's about to expire. The first bill that I think we're going to bring up is one that will establish a new Title 42 type mechanism, specifically linked to the availability of detention facilities.
Why is this one going to expire? If it's working, why not keep it in place?
Because it's a public health measure, not an immigration measure.
The Customs and Border Protection announced recently a drop in their border arrests, attributing it to new policies put in place by the Biden administration.
Well, those new policies are simply to bypass the border and bring illegal aliens directly into the country with no adjudication of their asylum claims. Instead of them remaining in their own country and going through the asylum process, they're being brought into the United States, released. And that simply bypasses the border at taxpayer expense, I might add. It doesn't solve the problem. It makes it worse. In fact, when I was down at Yuma sector a few months ago, the Border Patrol agents said, don't send us more money because they'll only spend it to expedite admissions of people into this country. And that's what they're doing through a different mechanism.
What do they want you to send them?
They want the laws enforced. In fact, I said, we're the Congress. We write laws. We can't enforce them. What new laws do you need us to write? And unanimously, they said, we don't need new immigration laws. We need to enforce the immigration laws that we have. And if you stop and think about it, that's absolutely true. Donald Trump enforced those laws and brought illegal immigration to a trickle. Those policies were reversed. The laws have gone unenforced, and we have now an unprecedented mass migration, the magnitude of which I don't think any civilization has ever survived. Without immigration laws, we have no borders. And without borders, we have no country.
Congressman Tom McClintock, no stranger to Washington Journal viewers, with us until the bottom of the hour at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, although you can stay till 10 if you want. Phone numbers if you want to join the discussion: Republicans 202-748-8001, Democrats 202-748-8000, Independents 202-748-8002. You're going to be seeing a lot of him as the chairman of the Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration Integrity, Security, and Enforcement. That's his role in the 118th Congress, also a member of the Budget Committee, I should note. But staying on the immigration issue, this administration has talked a lot about sorting out the root causes of migration and funding to address the root causes of migration in these countries where these folks are coming from. What are your thoughts on that effort?
Well, they've had now 2 years to do that. How's it working?
How is it working?
Well, every month we reach new records in illegal immigration into this country. Gallup warns us last year that there are 42, according to their polling, 42 million impoverished people just in Latin America and the Caribbean who intend to come here. And now that they can, they are in record numbers. And again, we're now seeing this impact every community in America. Again, when you add a population the size of the state of Mississippi in 25 months, something's going to give. And I'm afraid what will ultimately happen is that we will see one of two things. We'll either see a coordinated terrorist attack by elements that have come in through the porous southern border. I mean, we intercepted around 100 of them just in the last year or so. Known terrorists. We don't know how many unknown terrorists are among the 1.2 million gotaways that have evaded interception. It'll either be that or it'll be the kind of cartel gun battle that we now see breaking out across Mexico. Once that spills into this country, I think a lot of innocent Americans are going to be killed. And at that point, I think it's going to shock the conscience of the nation, and there will be a very, very swift response. Until then, all we can do is prepare the additional laws that we believe will stop this from ever happening in the future, and pray for a president who will actually take care that the laws be faithfully executed.
Coming to your Budget Committee work and the debt ceiling, calls for spending reductions, how does this play out here in the coming weeks and months in your mind?
I don't know. I can't tell fortunes, so I can't tell you what's ultimately going to happen. We do have to increase the debt limit. We have spent trillions of dollars of money that we don't have. We have maxed out our credit card. That's what the debt limit really is. It's the credit limit on the nation's credit account. But the reason why we have a debt limit is to pause, the way any family would do. If they exceeded their credit limit and had to get an increase, they'd better also sit down around the kitchen table and have a very serious discussion about why it is they're spending more than they're taking in and what they can do to change that. And that's what the debt limit's there for, is to prompt that discussion. So that's one was very disappointing when President Biden said he's not going to negotiate this. Well, what does he think that big building with the dome on top is all about? It's all about negotiating our differences. That's the way we resolve differences as Americans. We talk them out. And for the President of the United States to say he's not willing even to discuss it is appalling to me. Ultimately, we're going to have those discussions, and there have to be serious discussions. We have got to bring our spending down. It is vastly exceeds our resources, and otherwise, the markets will at some point step in and impose their own credit limit, and that will be a very painful one. That's called a sovereign debt crisis. That's what countries like Venezuela have been going through. It's not a pretty picture. So either we figure out how we get our finances back under control, or the market will simply demand it.